Hi, and welcome to the weekly college football pick'em show here at thegruelingtruth.net, as brought to you by Gridiron Mo, an interactive football game app which pits you against other football fans across the country in predicting the next play within a live NFL game. Think you're smarter than the average fan? See for yourself at Gridiron Mo through this website, thegruelingtruth.net, or gridironmo.com. My name is Oz Davis. I'll be your host for this discussion on college football and the upcoming bowl games. Let me introduce my co-host, let's say, my co-panelist to the show. Now, I've been wanting to introduce a show like this for a long time. For those of you who may have heard other shows here at thegruelingtruth.net, you may have heard the fearless leader of our website and our enterprise, Mike Goodpaster, introduce his co-panelist in the following way. I'd like to introduce the big loser of last week, the man who did the worst at predicting the bowl game slate that we had, the fearless leader of thegruelingtruth.net, Mike Goodpaster. Mike, how are you doing this week?
Blow me, Dave.
Yep, and you're
so you know, everybody, his name's not Oz Davis either. It's David Landry. I think it's because he's on the run from the police. But go ahead.
How did you know? How did you know? A pitiable 3-6 performance, Mike. Absolutely, just absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. You might have been even worse if NC State hadn't blown out Vanderbilt in the last game. Speaking of that last game, here we're gonna go to the tied for last place finisher for
oh
for
God,
last week.
Brian, we are complete losers.
Also at 3-6, he's a man who doesn't want to be part of my three amigos and who thinks I talk too much. Brian Schmidt, how you doing tonight, Brian?
Oh man, but I went 3-6, but I was pretty happy with the fact that Hawaii won. So
Yep. Hawaii is
I got that. I feel like somehow the Hawaii win should at least get me like a half-point difference here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I gave it to you.
Well, go ahead and introduce the winner, Oz.
Oh yes, and then there's little old me, who was an outstanding 4-5.
Oh my God, he was 4-5. That means overall, who's still winning as we go into these final picks?
Okay, so overall, the record that I have this right here as well. It's not that much of a difference. Mike, you've come all the way down to a 9-6 record. Brian is also at 9-6, and I'm at 8-7. So, going into this last week.
Wait a second. How Brian tied with me? I was up a game last week.
Yes. No, wait. Is that correct? Yes, but he must have done you one better this week. Let me take a look at these records here.
He did me one
better. No. Okay.
You just said it was
so
even.
It must be Brian at 8-7 and me at 8-7. So outstanding work so far.
This is like having a mafia leader keeping score there, Schmitty.
Right, it is.
You.
It is. I've been paid. I've been paid off by my massive audience here. That's on my side. It's all a conspiracy. Right. Okay. So, any thoughts on last week, Mike, Brian, or should we just go on to the next week?
Brian?
It's really hard to watch games. Well, I was happy Hawaii won. However, it was really hard watching. It's really hard watching games when people are 6-6, 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this: there were some really good games this past week. The problem with is these would be great games if they were regular season games. Being bowl games, I'm not feeling an excitement for any of these games, to be honest with you.
What about this week's games? What about the games we're going to talk about tonight? Are you feeling excitement for that?
Some of these games, you're starting to get into some of the better matchups, some of the bigger bowls, but unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where these bowl games are just meaningless bowl games to a lot of people. Obviously, if you're fans of good football, Old Dominion game was a great game. Ohio-Troy was a good game. But, again, these are games that if they were regular season games, great games. But being bowl games, it's like a tree falling in the forest and nobody's around. You look at that Hawaii Bowl, I I think there were more, debris blowing on the field than there were fans in the stands. So,
Brian, cheer up, man. It's just watching football. Mike, what did you come away with last week?
I came away as more like a bear shitting in the woods, but
okay,
wasn't that one of them too? I liked the Miami game. If they could have kicked a kick without getting a block, they'd have beat Mississippi State. So I'll take that.
Yeah,
and you're the one that ran your mouth for like 25 minutes how Miami was going to win.
Yeah, well, 6-0. I mean, what a run! What a run they were on. I mean, a freak show happened. A freak show happened in the North. And look, I enjoyed the Navy game. I enjoyed that the Navy. I even forget who they played.
Navy and Louisiana
That's
Tech.
Right,
that
Louisiana
was a great game.
Tech.
Those two wide receivers for Louisiana Tech are the real deal too.
So here are a lot of games that we kind of enjoyed. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Again, it's just watching football during the holidays. I didn't have much of a problem. I enjoyed what I saw. Anyway, there's the optimistic viewpoint for you. Let's talk about next week's games. No problems?
Let's do it.
All right. It's unanimous. All right. Now, we're not going to go through all the slate of games we got. We're saving the big two games, the playoff games, for tomorrow night. Mike, you want to tease this for us? Tease this for the listeners of this show.
Okay. Tomorrow night for the Final Four show, we will have former Alabama offensive lineman, played on the 78-79 national championship teams for Bear Bryant, Bill Searcy on the show. He's been on a couple times in the past. And we will have our Washington Husky, former Cincinnati Bengal and Washington Husky, Joe Kelly, who played on the 85 Orange Bowl team, but pulled a huge upset, beating Oklahoma. He'll be on to defend Washington against probably Oz, who will probably interrupt him the whole damn time. But go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. So now I can interrupt you and say, oh, yes, and we'll also, those two former college greats will also be joined by the three amigos, the three of us. Am I winning you over to that yet, guys? Three amigos? You like that? No. All right, let's talk some Bulls. We're not going to talk about all the Bulls. We're just going to talk about like 8 or 9 we've got on tap here. Holiday Bowl. Let's go to the Holiday Bowl. That's on December 27th. So what? That's tomorrow as we record this, Tuesday night. Minnesota versus Washington State. Now, Mike, you've been talking up Washington State for a while. You want to talk them up some more here?
Yeah, Mike Leach has done an outstanding job there, one of the founders of the air raid offense with Coach Hal Mumme, who's at Belhaven now. They get the second-ranked pass offense. They got Luke Falk, who today said he's going to stay in school, which is going to make them a huge threat in the Pac-12 next year. He threw 37 touchdown passes, 71% completion, over 4,200 yards. I think Washington State's a really good team. Minnesota, stout on defense, excellent pass defense. I think the difference in this game is Washington State, even though they're an air raid team, has had success running the ball this year. And I just think the Big Ten thing is just they're excellent on pass defense because outside of Penn State, you don't really have a big-time quarterback in the Big Ten. I think Washington State wins this game 38-20.
Washington State, this will be the first time since 2002 and 2003 they've put together 2 9-win seasons or more consecutively. And perhaps another storyline here is, has there been anything else on these 10 players that Minnesota has suspended based on these sexual abuse allegations? Is there anything? Do we know anything about this? I mean, this only happened 2 weeks ago.
Well, I haven't heard anything since they decided to play.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were told they had to play or they wouldn't have scholarships anymore.
Right, exactly. The rest of the team's going to play, but that's still missing a lot of players. Brian, can you see any hope for Minnesota here, or is Washington State going to cruise here?
Washington State's going to cruise. This is one of the bowl games that I'm actually excited to watch, mainly because of Washington State and because of Mike Leach. Being an air raid guy myself, these guys, Leach and Mumme and all these guys have been a big part of my coaching life, so I always enjoy watching these games and learned a lot over the years, especially when Leach and Mumme were at University of Kentucky. So this is going to be I'm not even sure 38-20. I think it's going to be more of a 45-17 kind of deal. This is not going to be close. And again, you're starting to see what Mike Leach does with, he did the same thing with Texas Tech. He'll get those 8-9 win seasons, and then all of a sudden, then you'll start seeing where they'll have that 11-12 win year. He'll start building this thing. And I think next year it's going to be a dangerous team. Having their quarterback come back. They return quite a few guys offensively.
Now, Brian, real quick, I hate to interrupt you, but I said it would be 38-17, and you said 45 or 38-20. You said 45-17. I don't think that's as big a difference as you tried to make it sound.
Oh, well, it's still a big difference. Big difference between 38 and 45.
But I did say that, pardon the interruption before I interrupted you, because I want to have a little bit of class. Go ahead, Oz. Who you got?
Yeah, just a little bit, not too much. Well, I think this is a pretty easy game to pick. I'll go with Washington State. I like the way you guys are talking up how this school might raise its profile in the short term a little bit. So that'll be nice for them. Let's go on to this one. Now, to be fair, Brian, I don't know, are you sitting in front of a computer? Because I'll give you a few seconds to research this one because I don't know if you got this on the list before the show. I want to talk about the Foster Farms Bowl. This would be on December 28th, so Wednesday night, Utah versus Indiana. So I don't know if you know anything about this game, Brian. You can cram real fast if you don't. I didn't mean to disrespect Mike's Indiana Hoosiers.
Well, I didn't even know you were going to bring them up, so I didn't even study for it. All I can tell you is this.
Didn't? Okay. I got something.
Well, Brian, let's sum up real quick. Utah will hammer the hell out of them because Indiana fired Kevin Wilson, and they shouldn't have. But even if they wouldn't have fired Kevin Wilson, Utah would have hammered the hell out of them. So I'm going to say Utah 40, Indiana 17.
Okay, yeah, this game will be Tom Allen's debut after being defensive coordinator for Indiana as head coach after the retirement of Kevin Wilson, or the resignation, I should say, not necessarily retirement. But what about this, Mike? Do you know anything about this guy, Utah coach Kyle Whittington? Apparently,
he's a great coach.
9-1 in bowls, which is the all-time number one. Utah itself is 15-4 all-time in bowl games. How much of this is Whittington? How much credit are you going to give Whittingham at the end?
I think they had Urban Meyer there that really started this, and they've been really good ever since. Mm-hmm. And Utah, over the last 5 years, I think has the best record in the Pac-12. So I think the guy's a great football coach, and as long as he's there, Utah will be at the top of the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm. Also, to look for, Utah is number 6 in the country in sacks, one of the best pass rushes in the country. Brian, you want to weigh in? Oh, I'm going to go with Utah as well. Brian, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, Utah's really good, and they've been really good. I followed Utah a lot when Meyer was there, but the one thing that has happened since Meyer left Utah years ago is they've not really gone down that much. In fact, in some ways, I think they've kept the same standards and level. They win games. Every so often, they're going to have that year where they're going to get that 11-12 wins, and they're going to be talked about pretty heavily. Utah's going to win this with everything that's going on in Indiana right now, and it's a shame. I mean, not just because it's Mike's school, but because it's. It was good. I
would like to interrupt you without you getting mad at me, and then bring up the fact that I actually went to Indiana State.
I know you did, but
in my home state, and someday I wish to see them win more than 6 games in a season.
I know you do, and that's why I was really hoping that they would continue to improve and maybe one of these days give you that 7-8 wins you've been wanting, but unfortunately. Not going to happen, and they will not win this game. Utah will win this game.
And the bad thing is the one Rose Bowl trip they made was in the year I was born, but it was 11 months before I was born.
Okay. Why?
And also, I'd like to bring up the fact that the people that run the Indiana University sports program are all idiots anyways and destroyed everything good about it, Indiana basketball and football. You had Coach Mallory, who was there, won 8-9 games every year, went to bowl games all the time, and they fired him because they couldn't get him to Rose Bowl. So we see how that turned out.
Well, at least they can play in the Foster Farms Bowl.
At least they're not New Mexico. Next game.
In fact, last year, in fact, they played in the Pinstripe Bowl. Which
we lost 44-41 to Duke, I think.
Right, yeah. High scoring. I was just going to say. Wow.
But it was at Yankee Stadium, and both the uniforms, the colors matched really good. It was a cool game to watch.
Right. Yep. I remember this game. And this is happening Wednesday night. This year it's going to be between Pitt and Northwestern. Here's another 6-6 team for us. Northwestern, great. Well, I know Mike loves Pitt, so I'm going to ask him to go first again.
I get to get first the whole time? That seems a little uneven since I have a one-game lead, two-game lead over you. You're last, by the way, for the entire show. I think Pitt's a really good team. I mean, they beat Penn State. They beat Clemson. They've had a few bad losses. They're a good football team. I like Northwestern, especially Northwestern's wide receiver, Austin Carr, who I think you'll see play on Sundays. I just think Pitt's got a little bit too much for him. I'd say Pitt 31-20 over Northwestern.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Brian, what do you got on this?
I'm going to have to agree. Pitt's been a pretty good football team all year. They've had a few bad losses, but I don't really think they were expected to do as well as they did. Good football team, good offense. I would have to agree, probably around the same score. I don't see Northwestern being able to do enough offensively, even though, they've got a great receiver, but I don't think they're going to do enough offensively to be able to handle Pitt, who has a pretty good running game and a pretty good balance overall. But their running game is really good. When their running game is on, their whole offense is real tough to stop. Yeah.
James Conner over there with 1060 yards and 16 touchdowns. For me, the key stats are these. Northwestern, when they've scored over 21 points this season, they're 6-0. Unfortunately, Pitt has averaged 42 points a game this season, and Northwestern has only done that 3 times. On the other hand, they've done that in 2 of the last 3 games. So here's the case for Northwestern. They got to score a lot of points very quickly, very often. I'm just not sure they'll do it. I'll go with Pitt as well. I'll side with you guys as Pitt. Okay, let's see. All right, I'm going to go to Brian first on this one. The Alamo Bowl on December 29th, Oklahoma State against Colorado. Interesting matchup on turf, a battle between 2 defensive-minded teams. What are you looking for here, Brian?
I think this is going to be a great football game, but I'm not sure what Mike will pick, although I got a pretty good idea. But I'm not even sure what the line is on this game, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. I think that Oklahoma State can do enough offensively to put it up. So I'm going to say Oklahoma State 24-21.
Okay. What are you saying, Mike?
I'm going Colorado. I think Colorado has an elite secondary. They got Mike McIntyre, who's done a great job of rebuilding that program. They got a big-time quarterback. Philip Lindsay's a really good running back. They like to pound the ball between the tackles. Oklahoma State's a Big 12 team, so they don't believe in playing defense. And I think Colorado has a very good defense. I like Colorado in this game 27-24.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I'm surprised you're even going this high scoring. Is it just because you expect a fast surface here?
No, because Colorado can score points. Don't let the Washington game fool you. They're a good football team.
Okay. Can Oklahoma State's Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year, what's this guy's name? Justice Williams? Is that correct? Or Justice Will? Can this guy run the ball against Colorado?
I don't know. You tell us, because you're the one who's supposed to be picking the game right now.
I'm gonna.
Me and Schmidt shouldn't have to do all your research for you.
I'm playing it safe. Well, I was just getting your opinion on it.
You don't need my opinion. You need to just pick the game. You got my opinion. I picked the game. Brian picked the game. Now your quandary is.
I wanted to know about this.
Now your quandary is you can't just go with the in crowd. You're actually going to have to think for yourself and make a pick.
I've got my notes, man. I've got my picks.
Well, then pick
already.
the damn game and quit asking me what I think about a running back.
Okay. I guess you got nothing to say.
Are you going to pick the game or are you just going to pass?
Colorado for the win. Next up on December
Who'd you
30th.
say?
Colorado.
Big sissy.
Colorado Buffaloes.
Right.
Okay. On December 30th, we've got the Orange Bowl. This is Michigan against Florida State. Do you want me to go first on this one, Mike? Do you want me to just throw my cards down on the table? Okay. All right. Well, Michigan, I think, is, they're going to have the edginess in this game. They're going to want to prove to the doubters that, maybe they belong in the playoffs. But I would be concerned as a Michigan fan about all these mental mistakes that they made in the Ohio State game. This is a top 15 team in terms of turnover differential, and boy, they certainly have not looked like it in the last 3 games that they've dropped 2 from. Don't like that so much. Now, Florida State's been on a roll, but they haven't played anybody, other than Florida in their past 4 games. They've outscored opponents 145-54, I've got, but, against not much competition there. Battle of the big names, and I suspect that you guys are going to think this is a high-scoring game, and I think there's going to be a lot of sympathy for Michigan here. So I'm going to pick Florida State, and I'm going to be keeping an eye out for this guy DeMarcus Walker, who's a real beast on the defense. Consensus All-American I've got as well. Okay, Brian, what do you think?
With the time to prepare, time to get healthy, and you got a hardball coach in this game, so the preparation is going to be good, the game plan is going to be good. I see Michigan winning this game. I think 24-20. Michigan. One of Michigan's biggest problems at the end of the year was they weren't a completely healthy football team, and that happens to a lot of teams when you get banged up, and you just get banged up enough that you struggle. Well, now they're going to be healthy, and as I said, the one thing with Harbaugh is when you allow him to have the time to prepare and game plan, the guy's very good, and his team will come into this game well prepared, and I don't think Florida is going to be able to handle Michigan being physical with them offensively and defensively. So I think Michigan will win this game.
Okay. All right, Mike. Now you're the difference maker. What do you say?
I got no problem with being the difference maker, especially since I'm not siding with Oz. I'm going with Michigan. I think Michigan will just overpower them offensively and defensively. Florida State doesn't throw the ball well, I don't think. You got Dalvin Cook as the running back, but I think Michigan is going to stack the box, stop him, make Florida State throw the ball to beat him. They can't. I'd say Michigan 24, Florida State 10.
Okay, then. All right. Let's move on. On New Year's Eve, one of the games being played that's not a playoff game is the Citrus Bowl. This one is LSU versus Louisville. I'm not going to go first on this one because I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't do a lot of research on this one. I know a little bit about these teams, but I'm going to go to Mike first. Mike?
Fournette's not playing, so LSU will have even less offense than they usually have. I'm going with Louisville. I think something like 38-21.
Okay, all right. That's a good one. Brian, what do you like?
Yeah, same thing. LSU is just an offensive enigma, and now you take away, maybe best running back in college football. You take him out of it, and now they're not going to be able to score enough points with Louisville with Louisville's offense. So I'd say the same thing. Louisville 38, LSU 21.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to go with LSU. What the heck? I think Louisville has not ended the season impressively, so I'm going to run with that because I'm not going to get many more chances to disagree with you guys. All right. Let's talk another New Year's Eve. Oh, no more New Year's Eve games to talk about. Let's talk about the Cotton Bowl on January 2nd. Now, here's a game that we've been waiting for since these bowl games were announced. I think I'm speaking for all of us here. Western Michigan versus Wisconsin, two teams kind of caught in the, playoff controversy / discussion and ended up on the outside looking in. Brian, you're looking forward to this one now. Not even a curmudgeon like yourself is going to watch this game and enjoy it, right?
Yeah, this is the game that of the bowl games, the ones that I'm looking forward to watching. This was one of them. And I am going to take Western Michigan in this game. I think Western Michigan's a really good football team. They're really good offensively. Decent defensively. Not a great, I don't think they're a great defensive team, but I mean they're decent. But I just feel like this Western Michigan team is I guess maybe for lack of better terms, that they're having that team of destiny 2016 kind of year. To be able to finish what they started, and the team, again, the shame of the whole playoff system is why it needs to be expanded. Is this is a team that deserves to be in the playoffs? Are they a national championship team? I don't know, but you know what? I'd rather have them a chance to play in that for that opportunity than not. So I think Western Michigan is going to win this. I think 28-20.
Yeah, how about Western Michigan in the playoffs? Football created this whole notion of the wild card. This was created in the NFL, and now it's spread to all the different sports. But, why not a wild card in this college football playoff scenario? And this year would definitely be Western Michigan. I don't think Wisconsin scores a lot of points, period. And Western Michigan does. And I think that's going to be enough. I don't care how good Wisconsin defense is. Western Michigan's going to have to score 21 points, and they can win this game. I'm going with Western Michigan. Mike?
I think Western Michigan on offense just has better players. You got Corey Davis, who's a stud wide receiver, probably playing in the NFL. They got Franklin, who's a very good running back. Their quarterback's a stud, doesn't turn the ball over much. We saw that Wisconsin, their front seven's really good, but if you got time to throw the ball, their secondary is not very good. And, it's just going to be fun watching Wisconsin get beat. Because you got all these Badger fans, including the Badger fan that used to be on this show. He got real butthurt after Penn State lost, and he decided he couldn't do the show no more. And to me, that's typical Green Bay, Wisconsin fans. It's just like now every Packer fan is, we're going to win the Super Bowl. No, you're not, all right? You're just not, because you can't play defense. And the Wisconsin Badgers cannot play offense. That's why they don't get respect nationally, because when it comes down to it, they got their ass beat 3 times this year, and I don't even know how the hell they're in the Cotton Bowl. I'm going with Western Michigan.
Is Davis coming up next year? Is he going to be in the draft next year?
I believe he is a senior, isn't he, Brian?
Cool. Wow. Great. One to look for. Okay. All right. Let's talk about what they used to call the granddaddy of them all. I don't know if they still call it that, but the Rose Bowl on January 2nd. A classic-sounding bowl game, USC against Penn State. I don't know, personally speaking, I'm just happy to be seeing USC again. I got into college football about halfway through this season, really got into it, and, of course, USC is the local team out here in Orange County, so I get to watch all their games.
I'm just happy it's the only college you can spell, right?
USC? Well,
yeah.
UCI is also in town. I'll have you know that Irvine is a highly intellectual town, especially for this country. In any case, I'm just happy to be seeing USC again. I won't give any more analysis. I'll wait for the experts, but I'm going to take USC in this game. Definitely, even though Penn State is a nice feel-good story. Mike, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm going to take USC also. Very hot. Penn State does a great job of pressuring the quarterback, but I think USC, especially over the last 7-8 games, I think they've got a great offensive line. You look on defense, I mean, you saw against Wisconsin, McSorley, the quarterback for Penn State, likes to throw the ball deep. His big target's Chris Goodwin. The problem for them is you got a Dory Jackson, who's one of the most exciting players in college football on the other end. I think USC wins this game 38-21.
And how about Sam Darnold? I believe he's undefeated as a starter. The redshirt freshman
quarterback. Yeah. So the future is bright for them. Washington State, Washington. I mean, the Pac-12 is going to be loaded over the next year or two, I think. In Colorado.
Okay, Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going with USC as well, and it's funny, you know, we're talking about the Pac-10. When we were in the conference championships, you know, so many people, especially some people in Green Bay, just dogging the Pac-12, and yet you sit here and look at the Pac-12 and what the Pac-12 is going to look like next year. It's going to be a pretty good conference. Washington State, Colorado, USC, Utah's always going to be there. They're always going to be a good team. So
and you know UCLA is not going to stay down forever.
No, and they're not going to stay down forever. So there's a lot of good teams. You know, the Pac-12, I think next year has the potential to be maybe not the best conference in the NCAA next year, but I think it'll definitely be in the top two. There's going to be a lot of good football teams, but USC to me, the thing with Penn State is I think Penn State is a very good football team. I think they ended the year, so hot. They were such a good team. But at the end of the day, I think if this game was played a week after the Big Ten championship, I probably would pick Penn State. But the fact that you've had this layoff, and we see this every year in college football, the hot teams at the end of the regular season, now they have 4 or 5 weeks off, doesn't translate into being a hot team in the bowls. And I think USC has got a lot of talent, a lot of young talent, and I just don't think Penn State matches up well with them. So I would agree probably 41-21.
Well, this is two very hot teams. I mean, Penn State has 9 wins in a row. USC has 8 wins in a row. So I think they're going to cool off to the same extent here. I'm not sure that's much of a factor. Yeah, I just wanted to give one more shout-out to Sam Darnold. I just wanted to say how much I'm looking forward to seeing him getting pummeled as the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams in a few years. Right, let's talk about the Sugar Bowl, also on January 2nd. Last one on the list, guys. I bet you're happy. Here we go. It's Auburn versus Oklahoma. Do we know, I guess the big question is, do we know anything about Shaun White, who is rumored to be ready to go? He missed the last 2 games of the season. Do we know anything about Shaun White? Let's go to Mike.
I just know that Auburn doesn't deserve to be in this game, and Oklahoma's going to beat the hell out of them.
Wow.
I'll say Oklahoma 55, Auburn 10.
Wow. Really? The line is 4 for this game, and you think it ought to be 44. Okay, all right. What do you got for this game?
Actually, 55-10 is 44, by the way, or 45. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but then your line would be 44, right?
Okay. 44.5.
Right, 44.5, right? There you go. I stand corrected. Right. Okay, Brian, what do you think? Is the line on this game 44.5?
I think it'll be a little closer than 44.5, but I don't know. I don't know that it'll exactly hit 4. I don't know how Auburn got in this game. They must have had some incriminating pictures of some of the bowl or something, because I don't know how they got this game. But Oklahoma is going to win it. I'm gonna say 35-17.
They've got 17. Wow. Okay, that's almost reasonable. All right. Yeah, I guess I have to go Oklahoma as well. I mean, even with a gimpy starting quarterback, there's no reason to like Auburn in this game. Just an interesting little bit of trivia about this game. This is only the second time these two teams have ever met, and the last time was in 1972 in the Sugar Bowl. Right. Okay. Well,
and what happened in that game?
You tell me.
Oklahoma blew Auburn out.
All I know is okay, so we're going to get a repeat of history. You know, none of the players from that game are actually returning for this game. So I'm not sure how relevant this little bit of history
well,
is.
Auburn in the SEC, a few of those guys might have still been playing in the mid-'80s, though. Just under their name.
I believe it. Okay, well, let's get out of here for tonight because we're going to do this again tomorrow night. Mike, I enjoyed how much you did this the last time, so tell us about tomorrow night's show one more time.
Tomorrow night's show, we will have the Final Four preview with former Alabama Crimson Tide lineman, two-time national champion Bill Searcy, and Washington Husky linebacker from the 1985 Orange Bowl team that should have won a national championship, Joe Kelly. So make sure you check us out. We'll pick both games, including the Ohio State-Clemson game, which we don't have a former player for Ohio State, but even better, we've got a fan in Brian Schmidt.
Yes.
Brian, thank you very much, Mike. Again, Mike Goodpaster, the fearless leader here at thegruelingtruth.net, and we do appreciate him very much. Brian, you want to give us some famous last words for this show, and we'll do it again in about 24 hours?
I have no really famous last words other than listen to the show tomorrow night. It ought to be fun. I'm really hoping that somehow somebody will instigate Alabama versus Washington player, and we can all just sit back and shut up and listen because that would be fun. But that's all I got.
All right. Okay. Well, like the gentleman said, my co-host Mike Goodpaster and Brian Schmidt said, listen to us tomorrow night for another edition of the weekly college football pick'em show here at thegruelingtruth.net. For my co-host, I'm Oz Davis, and we are out of here until tomorrow. Talk to you then.